Alright, it's going to be just a quick review of the PremierOne electric poultry netting fence. This is an 84 feet one, so for a pretty, you could use this in a pretty small backyard. It's basically 12 by 24. Probably get some more and add on to it. Just go a little bit at a time if you can, if you're on a tight budget. But so far I really liked it. It was easy to go up. Just have to, adjust, keep tightening, figure out where you need your guy wires. And that was one thing I wanted to talk about. When you're using guy wires or wires to support, pull back, tighten the fence, you want to make sure you use a bright color that everyone can see, that people don't get tripped up on. So what you do is once you get the fence set up, what I've got here is the single post stab in fence, and I did use just a small hammer and tap it the rest of the way in. The ground's decently soft down to about the 18-inch line, then we got a lot of rock, so not something you have to worry about on a chicken fence, only on the grounding. But just set it up where you want it, cinch everything up, pull it really nice and tight, and then keep using your wires there. It does come with these little like stakes, and what you want to do is you'll just keep pulling and adjusting until you pull all the slack out of it. So you may have one wire coming out the side, and then you might have to add another one coming out the other side. Just depends on what it takes for you in your area to get it adjusted. The one thing I will say, the one only negative I've noticed so far, is I did have one of the stakes pretty much break on me right away, and that just was probably just some sort of a flaw. But I gotta get that out of the ground. I just got it marked right there. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. The girls were out a little bit ago. I let them roam around, but I put them up. I gotta do some stuff. This particular one did not come with the signage, but you definitely want to put that up, especially if you're in a neighborhood or anything, because you don't want anybody to get shocked. I mean, it's not going to kill anybody, but it definitely will let them know. So you want to put something like that up just for a warning. I mean, you can make your own signs. You don't have to buy signs. I think it was like $7 for those 3, something like that. Anyways, when you get over here, when you get your ends together, what you do is, it comes with these strings on there, and you can just tie them together if you need to. I just attached them both really closely, tapped them on down to the ground, and then behind me here is another section of our yard. So I just was able to take a paracord, and I just wrapped it around here a couple times, and that way it pulls it tight. But then when I go to get in the fence, all I have to do is just get a hold of this, unwrap it, and it lets the tension off the fence, and I can get right in. So that's worked out really well so far. When you do those guy wires, I mean, the one thing you want to do is make sure, I call them guy wires, call them whatever, make sure that you make it to where people can see it. For me anyway, I don't want somebody getting tripped up and hung up in my stuff. So I mean, my yard is fenced in, but you never know. And then this is the way that we did the controller, the energizer. I'll show you this first, and then I'll walk on by. That's a ground rod right there. I could have just grounded it to the post, but the post is painted. And what I did with that ground rod, it's actually just stick a 3-foot rebar. I just drove rebar down into the ground. That's another thing too, if you're just starting out, don't let all the stuff that's got certain names throw you off and make you spend more money than you have to. A ground rod is like $15 right now because metal's so expensive. But you can do a piece of rebar. You can just probably find one laying around at a construction site or anywhere, or even if you just buy a piece, it's going to be a lot cheaper than buying a ground rod. So that's just a piece of rebar. If you don't know what rebar is, you can just Google it, and you can go in there and any big box store or any hardware store. If you have to buy a new one, just tell them you want a piece of 3-foot rebar. You just drive that into the ground. I did buy a little ground clamp right there. I just ran regular 12 wire. Just had some scrap pieces laying around. Ran one out of there for the negative, or for the ground. And then the other one, you see it right here, it's just kind of hanging out. And I just crimped the alligator clip on the end of it, and then you just clamp it right to your clips. That's all you gotta do. I would just use any kind of solid wire. I don't think you'd want to use braided wire. But anyway, this right here is where the controller is. It's just one of those cheap, used to be cheap Husky toolboxes. Just wanted to put it in something to where it was going to be like protected from the weather. This is a BRIIDEA, rated for up to 2 miles or 8 acres, so it's got plenty of charge on it. You just want to make sure you have everything tightened good, and you want to make sure you have everything labeled. See how I got that red? That tells me that this one on the other end is my red. That's my hot. That's my charging cable or wire. And then I marked that green one for ground, which I used a white wire. It would have been fine to begin with, but I like to just make sure everything's marked. And then I ran it out of there. See how they come right out? I'm going to come in there and shoot some silicone in that. I just want to make sure everything was doing good before I tightened it all up. Closed it up for good. But just drop your wires out of there. And then the white one right there, that goes to ground. And the reason I used insulated is because anywhere where it touches is a chance it could ground out. Like if it touches some weeds with roots or something on them, it can ground it out. So, and what that means is if it's grounded out constantly and some predator comes up and tries to get in your fence, they're going to be able to get right through the fence because it's already grounded out, so it's not going to shock them. So I just so happen to have a little smart control switch box, some things we've gotten a little while back, and I'll take this off. And with having this on there, I can just pretty much, from about 50 feet, probably even from the back porch, I can turn that fence on and off. I'll take that off of there and take it up to the back door probably, and just leave it there. And then I just ran a 50-foot cord. I still gotta run this permanently. Everything's been in the test phase, but I just ran it back to the house and plugged it in. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple project. Did take a little bit of time. At first I didn't think I was getting a charge. But I think the reason why for that was that I have a low voltage tester, and the lights were supposed to be blinking, but it was so bright out when I was trying to do it, and I think my eyes are just failing me. I couldn't even see that blinking because I did touch that fence one time. Actually, I touched that red clip, and boy, it lit me up, so it was working. So not a bad deal, not a bad deal. I think this fence was 120 bucks. The charger was 30 bucks, or sorry, energizer. And then, like I say, I just had some old scrap wire running around, and I bought those clips for like, I think I paid $3 for that little pack of clips. So check it out. It's the Premier Poultry netting fence. And happy Sunday.